gentlemen, I am overjoyed. I could not be more excited than right now, right here, to bring you this Overwatch 2 action for the NACE Varsity Super Conference. We have St. Clair College going against Blinn College, and I am Daniil, also known as Bettis McGee, and joined by the one and only. Introduce yourself to the fine people at home.
To the five people at home, Evan Johnson goes by Not Really Evan on socials. And Daniil, I
Nice.
can't agree more with
Oh,
you. I mean, we are so excited to be here for Overwatch 2. It's a big one. We're getting near the end of the NACE Super Conference regular season. So all the games right now, they're getting
look at
getting
them.
really spicy now. Things are really starting to mean a lot as we get a quick look at the boys as they're getting ready behind us here. Like we said, it's always a big one when we get near the end of NACE here. These games at the end of the season here really start deciding, playoff seeding and, who's really going to be
Mm.
sort of those elite teams to watch out for as we get into that playoff hunt.
Absolutely. And as soon as I knew that this game was scheduled, I knew I had to be here for this match. I wouldn't miss it for the world, right? This team is right now in a very precarious predicament. We are right now at the point in playoffs where the wheat are cut from the chaff, okay? The teams who are making the top half versus the bottom half, and it's only the top 6 teams that qualify into the playoffs. The bottom 2 have to play in the last chance qualifiers, which shouldn't be too difficult for them considering they're already in the Super Conference, but of course you always have the chance of getting surprised by scrappy underdogs. And again, the Saints right here, right now against Blinn College. Saints right now 3-2. Blinn College 2-3. This, theoretically, you could favor the Saints, but we're in that weird margin of error zone where either team statistically could walk away with it. But if the Saints truly are the dominant, stronger team, and if they're not able to pull through today, their chances next week are looking pretty rough.
Well, exactly. I mean, you look at the schedule for next week. You have Winthrop next week. I mean, that is an absolute juggernaut of a matchup there.
Yeah.
Winthrop 5-0, looking incredibly dominant throughout this regular season. No one has really been able to even give them much trouble this season. It's been very, very easy
Yeah.
for Winthrop. But when you look at the standings here, with the Saints being in fourth place and Blinn being right behind them in fifth place, this is a really, really crucial matchup when we're getting close to seeding for the end of playoffs. Like you said, top 6 automatically qualify into playoffs. Bottom 2 have to play in that last chance qualifier. You don't want to risk having to play in that last chance qualifier. You just
Hmm.
want to make sure you win and then you're in. And for the Saints, big chance to bounce back. Tough week last week against Maryville. Another really good team near the top of the standings here. So this is really where we're going to see the Saints make sure that they, give themselves a good test before the playoffs. We're going to get a good look at this team and see just how good they are and how far they can get in the playoffs. So very, very important matchup for the Saints here. Like you said, could go either way on paper, but if I'm St. Clair, I really, really want to win this game. We've really got to lock in and make sure
Hmm.
that this one is a dominant victory for the Saints tonight.
Yeah, again, it means so much going into the next week, not just for their chances, but even for their mentality as a team. I know it's not too controversial of a statement to say that our Overwatch team is probably one of the more emotionally invested, I'll say. So you always want to make sure that everybody's kind of in a good headspace, feeling comfortable, feeling confident, and I feel like a loss this week would really shake them either really positively or really negatively. This team, I feel like, is also susceptible to kind of getting too overconfident at times and letting that affect their gameplay. But of course, the other way around. This, I feel like, just a win here, nice clean win. Worst case, I think they'd be okay with a 3-1, but even a 3-2, I feel like would be too much. But obviously, a loss would definitely be a lot worse.
You got to win any way you can. And good
Yes.
teams do find a way to win no matter what the situation is. So if the Saints want to be considered that good team and one of those elite teams in the Super Conference, they need to find a way to win tonight.
Yes.
I think they definitely have the guts to do it. I mean, we talk about the players on the team. We talk about emotional investment and good stories. I mean, we talk about Azure as a good story. I mean,
Mm.
first semester with the team, he's really been sort of the rock as the team's like big tank player, really big Ramacha player, just doing so much for the team and everything they do. So he's been such a great story for the Saints. So even things like that, you want to see them stay successful and keep rolling with just the success that they found. It's like you
Mhm.
said, we always love to see our team succeed, and any way we can to get a win, we'll take it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, just to make sure that they're going into their final, or one of their final weeks of playoff, if not the final week of playoffs, feeling ready for anything. And the divide that's being set this week. All the teams who are kind of in the middle. The Saints right now, middle of the pack. You know, Winthrop, they're comfortable, right? Nothing changes after this week. Business as usual. Business as usual. Everything's going great and dandy. But Saints right now find themselves relatively middle in the pack, 3-2, 2-3, that range. Where at the end of this week, they're either 3-3 or 4-2. They have to make sure that they're setting the precedent now and here that they want to be in that top cut, not the middle or the bottom.
And here we go. We're going to waste no more time. We are going to get into game. We are here on control. It is Lijiang Tower, St. Clair in blue, Blinn College in red. And here we go, Noxious on that Sojourn. Definitely something to look out for. We know Noxious has that sniper shot. He can hit those shots. He's going to be that DPS character to look out for. And there is Azure, like we highlighted before, opening up the scoring for the Saints here. Point has unlocked. Neither team able to get there yet. Just trying to get some picks early here. Just trying to poke at the other ones here. Razor finding one with Farah. Great shot there. Sniping Sky Sniper out
Oh,
there.
that's huge!
In the sky, huge boof there to get Raheem there. And another one as Howlett goes down. And
Oh
a
my
fourth
God!
one for Hutch. Razor just making sure the Saints have a good start to this game here. Finding 4 right off the rip on a 5-kill streak. Saints look really, really strong to start this one as they take control of the point.
A big fan of how that one played out, especially that kill on the Lucio. He was so close to the health pack, basically bouncing in. He had to get sniped out there, or he would have probably been able to retreat and get back with his team pretty fast. But then with that kill, they had to wait for him to get there, respawn. And that wastes time, that wastes ultimate percentage. And right now, the Saints, they are definitely winning the percentage game. Razor about to have the Rocket Storm. Axure just slightly far behind. Axure about to get one important kill here, but they're going to get away, escape with their lives. Sky Sniper going to retreat. We're going to see Razor up again in the skies, only with the ultimate. Hutch having it as well, just taking out everybody in these choke points. Seems that Blinn College not able to really find their way through and back onto the point.
No, it's been all blue in the kill feed there. You did see like Redex doing some DPS Lucio action, getting a boop as well there, boop kill there. So really good to see that the Saints are firing on all cylinders early here. Saints do have a couple ults to work with in case Blinn does want to make an attempt at a push here. Razor trying to force Joey off the point here, as that isn't a Risa ult going down, but Razor just is raining from above, but that Lucio ult from Raheem coming in to save the members of Blinn just that little bit extra, getting some extra health here as Blinn retakes control of the point, but Noxious finding that snipe onto Halwick there. Another pick for the Saints here. Razor just missing that environmental kill on Lucio there, just putting some more pick damage in. The Saints are back on the point here. Noxious in a battle with Juno, does pop his ult here. Hasn't found any picks yet though, but does manage to hold off the members of Blinn from getting too far in there. Joey trying to do some chip damage with Tracer, trying to fight with Azure on the point here. Azure holding it down for the Saints, but members of Blinn doing a much better job than earlier at trying to contest the point and get on.
Absolutely, especially right now, Saints have both support ultimates. They're going to commit both right away. Redex is going to use that sound barrier. People are already falling off the stage. Saints 91%, no ultimates to be used here by Blinn College, and they're all getting wiped. They were able to almost get the touch, almost get the conversion, but almost does not win you games, not in Overwatch. Saints taking this round 1 over Blinn College, and with a 30% on Blinn College side, that's a 70% deficit between the Saints and Blinn College. I feel like the Saints were just in full control of this game at all points in time. They had all their ultimates, they had the positioning. Blinn College were always playing off the back foot, and in a game like this, you super duper Omega do not want to be struggling as hard as Blinn was in that first round. At the very least, you want to try forcing things, you want to get some pickoffs and start playing from there, but I feel like they weren't even able to get any of that.
No, they weren't even to get anything. You know, they were able to keep that air superiority. I really liked how they're playing to that point strengths, you know, bringing that Lucio, bringing the Pharah, you know, giving, you know, just that extra ability to, you know, get those environmental kills and, you know, use that open space to your advantage. Blinn just
right
had no answers to any of those environmental plays that St. Clair was throwing at them, but here we go. Back inside now with Razor, switching up the comp a little bit, going onto that Genji. Very, very deadly on Genji. Definitely going to be looking out for him. Joey, though, electing to swap to Torbjorn here. Always love to see some Torbjorn representation in any scenario here. Razor getting in that back line. just trying to pick away at the members of Blinn, not getting any purchase yet, waiting for his opening to strike here. Joey setting up his turret here. Saints do get on the point first. Azure in a duel with his Orisa mirror match for Blinn here, but doing lots of damage here. Still contested on the point here as both teams just, no one really seems to want to get the point here. Razor does go down, Sniper finding 2 of them for Blinn as Blinn trying to get some of their first lead of this game yet. This could be their best chance to do it.
Yeah, and they were able to successfully win this point. They got some critical pickoffs on the Saints and they weren't able to recover, but actually here on the point, going to be able to take down the enemy at risk and no supports in sight. And this is going to lead them to the Saints getting super aggressive, pushing Blinn College back. They either fight or die here. Saints are going to be able to capture the point. Blinn College actually wasn't able to finish that catch. Axier got there before they could fully convert it. Soaks with the only ultimate in play right now. Hutch not too far behind on the side of Blinn College. 2 support also are going to be ready in this game, 1 on each team, and this is how you turn around team fights. The Saints are going to want to hold. They're going to use Soaks ult right away before Hutch has the Juno ult. Immediately going to get popped. UFO is ready. Now it's going to come to who's going to be able to fight better. Right now, that's going to be the Saints. Saints perfectly controlling this choke point, isolating the enemy Orisa, finding her dead in a corner. Noxious and the rest of the Saints, he and Razor, ready to get some pickoffs, but Blinn College, they're going to take the right play, right opportunity, just retreat. They don't want to lose any more. Farm Blinn College, they want to farm their ultimate points, farm percentage, but Noxious on the backlines with the ultimate, looking for those shots. Not going to be able to find any pickoffs before they force out Regime to use the sound barrier. Now, Saints getting back in their holding position. Razor with the Dragon Blade ready to strike as soon as Regime's sound barrier is inactive, which it is now, looking for the perfect opportunity to strike. Blinn College pushing the Saints back.
Saints did a really good job on that choke point here. Razor, that is that Dragon Blade coming out here now. Blinn College having to retreat. You don't want to get caught in that Dragon Blade, but Razor can't find anybody. Joey taking him out before he does any damage to Blinn, but even so, does manage to push Blinn back. They had, made their best push since the start of this game, but gotta give credit to the Saints for holding strong on that choke point and not giving Blinn any opportunities to get close at all. The Saints just operating on all cylinders right now. They are looking so strong, so locked in. Just one more round here and that will do it. Just have to make sure you stay stable here. Halleck elected to switch to Azaria, maybe to try and counter out that Orisa from Azure, who's just been absolutely dominating right now, and there's Soaks on Kiriko finding some DPS as well. It's just all Saints in this first one here. Azure with a 10-player kill streak and a team kill to really seal the deal here as the Saints open up this series with a dominant win on Lijiang Tower. I mean, it's going to be really hard to stop them, but they keep playing like that in this series.
This is the kind of performance that you want to be seeing from the Saints right here, and it's a performance that people expect from them. Really just in full control of the game, like I said, playing around their ultimates very wisely, very properly. They would often initiate fights with the support ultimates, having one ready to be used in the backline, and sometimes not even necessary as they're finding the boosts on Red X after the sound barrier. There's no support ult in the game that's going to really keep you from that, except for maybe Lifeweaver. I'm not even too sure, but exactly just putting themselves into the teamfight positions where there are no real answers. And that's how you end up winning not just the first round, but the entire series.
Still a lot of series left to play. Like
100%.
we said, though, they just keep staying in this position here. They're going to be just fine. But, it goes to show that as a team, they work so well as a unit. They're able to communicate. They know how aggressive the other wants to play. The comms are good. They have these strategies worked out so well. So, like I said, very good team here. Everybody looking pretty pleased on the desk there. I mean, like we said, a pretty solid game. I mean, like, not really any bad notes for the Saints, I think, in that one. It was a pretty clean game, like we said, not a lot of notes, but, just keep that momentum rolling and just do your business, take care of your business.
Yeah, definitely. When looking at the Saints gameplay, one common issue that you see plaguing most Overwatch teams, and I saw it happening a couple of times with Blinn College, is you end up having either your tank, support, or DPS, just somebody critical to the team composition, and they end up getting split up. We saw it near that last team fight, especially the Orisa ended up getting pushed away. The rest of the team split off, can't retreat together, can't push together, can't die together. Everyone's at least going to get staggered, split up, or forced back, waiting for somebody to respawn. That's not what you want to see happening. And again, didn't see that for the Saints at all. Everybody was always, with each other in a good spot where they can retreat if necessary, or where they can really put the advantage, put the pressure on when it's time to, really put the pedal to the metal. And anytime that opportunity arose, the Saints were ready to answer it.
And that really comes down to map control.
Yes.
Like we said, the Saints were so dominant at controlling those choke points. We saw it both in round 1 and round 2, playing so aggressively and so far up that Blinn doesn't even get a chance to get close to the
Yep.
point. And,
Yep.
when you even have your backliners as well who are, making sure that, no one tries to slip through or, just adding that little extra bit of front DPS to, push everybody back on the side of Blinn, that really is a recipe for success. Absolutely dominant win in control there. The Saints really like Lijiang Tower. It's a map they play all the time. Gonna get a bit of a map switch though.
Yep.
I think what is it? It's the I can't remember. The point is gone. I know your hands are up. We will find out what the map and the mode is soon, but I don't even think it's gonna matter. You know what? I'm calling it
Nope.
right now. I think it's gonna be another easy round for the Saints. Doesn't even matter. Don't matter. Saints in 3. That's what I'm gonna say from here
Yeah.
on out. I'm that confident. After that first round, I'm so confident that I'm gonna call a Saints 3-0 right now.
Yeah, well, game mode map is going to be coming up now. It's going to be hybrid on Nimbani. That map, that game mode, whether or not the Saints are comfortable, we're going to have to wait and see, but they definitely look comfortable on Lijiang Tower. And one other important detail I wanted to note about how the Saints were playing versus how Blinn College was playing was um, one thing I can say for sure Blinn College has is the ability to frag. They're not afraid to
Mhm.
scrap with the Saints and get those kills. When everything was equal, everything was even, Saints were struggling. We saw Blinn College in both situations take control of the point first. It's just once the positioning, once the awareness, ultimates, and real pickoffs really start to become more relevant outside of just the raw fighting capabilities of the teams, that's when you start to see the gap in experience and skill between the teams, I think.
No, you're absolutely right
Yeah.
about that. And that definitely plays into, like we said, the map control aspects of it too, right? Blinn, they do have shooters. They do hit their shots. I know Sky Sniper was sort of giving them a run for their money on Sojourn in the right situations as well. So definitely gonna have to be careful on that, especially as we get into some modes where you won't just have a singular point to just
Hmm.
stay and hold. The map is going to be a bit more dynamic and things are going to be changing a lot more quickly. It's going to be a lot harder to get map control in a situation where the map is going to be changing depending on who's in control of the payload, right?
Exactly.
So like I said, the Saints just had to make sure they stay locked in, are able to play around these changes when they come up, and just take care of your business. Don't get too wrapped up in things. Just stay locked. Don't get tilted or anything like that, and just.
Easier said than done.
Well, I know, very easier said than done, especially in a game like Overwatch. Definitely, like I said, can bring out the emotions at times. It is something that it is very a team-oriented event,
Hmm.
team-oriented game. But alas, the Saints will continue and continue on from here.
Yeah, they'll continue and continue and continue at the very least until the end of the season, right? They can't
Hmm.
play forever, but I bet they wish they could. When you look at the Saints, they look so excited. He can't help but squeeze and hug his monitor. He can't wait to play. The team. As a group, as a band of players, I feel like they're more or less on the same wavelength when it comes to gameplay. I feel like whenever I hear their comms, which are very loud, there's not a lot of confusion. It's usually everybody responding quickly, accurately. Sorry, he looks so confused.
He's just waiting, man. He's thinking about more
He looks
Overwatch.
frozen.
He's thinking about just all the strats and everything that's going to be coming up soon. The Saints, like we said, they're waiting to get in here, and we're waiting to get into our second game here. Maybe someone on Blinn isn't set up correctly.
Oh.
Oh, never mind. Before I even say it, we're right into game here, and like you called it, it is Numbani, a classic Overwatch map, a fan favorite as well. Definitely one of my favorites, I would say. This is
I hate
always
it.
always a treat. Oh, did you say you hate it?
I hate it.
Oh man.
It
Well,
sucks.
it is nice to have a contrarian on the desk here, so we get both opinions here. But here we go. Saints starting out on defense here. Comp changed a little bit. Noxious on Tracer. Azure electing to swap to that Ash. Another great sniper character. Squeak swapping to Winston, and then Razor and Soaks on Ana and Brigitte respectively. A very, very solid team comp here as Azure getting the pick started technically on that turret from Joey here. Joey really trying to commit to that Torbjorn bit. Seeing a Torb on hybrid attack, definitely an interesting call. I guess setting up those turrets on the payload might get you a little bit here, but let's see what Blinn College is cooking up here as they make their first attempt at a capture, but Saints already there to contest them.
Yeah, looks like they're geared up, ready to go. Saints They are starting to really get into the swing of things as Blinn College are starting to crumble a little bit, but not quite. Blinn, they're starting to really push the Saints back. They're going to capture the point, unless we see the Winston come up from behind Squeak, causing some trouble. Sky Sniper in a lot of heat as well. Saints not quite able. They're contesting for the last bit of the point. Saints are getting feet there. Noxious in the backline causing a lot of problems, and the Saints are still holding, it seems. Not relinquishing control of the point, not going to let them finish it off completely. Axure on the high ground. Sky Sniper taking him down off of that catwalk. Saints are down 2. Just 3 members left. It seems more and more likely that they're going to be able to capture this point. Blinn College starting things off strong.
No, yeah, great start for Blinn there. I like this commitment to an aggressive dive comp here. You know, you have that Winston. Sky Sniper's been doing a lot on Echo right now. Echo is going to be such a tough one to deal with. Azure is really going to have to hit their shots with Ash in order to take care of Sky Sniper, because if you leave an Echo unattended like that, getting into your backline, it's just game over from there. And Squeak having to go blow for blow with the other Winston. Howlock playing Winston as well here. Razor trying to do some damage here, but that is an ult from Howlock, just wreaking havoc in the backline, just going absolutely crazy with that Winston ult, just pushing the members of the Saints back even more here as Blinn able to push that payload up pretty far here. They've had relatively low resistance from the Saints here. St. Clair just can't get set up anywhere, it seems, as that Echo ult not finding much there. Squeak does find Hutch, and there is Bob coming in too to give some more help for the Saints. Azure we're going to hit a couple more shots here, but Squeak doing it all himself as the Saints retake control of the payload. Their first real sign of some defense here, as Blinn's already taken, you know, they've already gotten really far in a relatively low amount of time.
Yes, they had all the ultimates in the back pocket there, but using all but one in one fell swoop. Blinn College doing a great job of forcing the Saints into some high-pressure situations, and that's the tough part about defense on these hybrid and push modes, where you're not even really playing to necessarily gain an advantage. You're just playing to stop them from winning the game. They're using their ults, they're committing, really just to prevent Blinn College from rolling all over them. So resource management, at the end of the day, games like this are basically all just resource management, where you want to make sure that you're saving your important abilities for when they use yours, or forcing them to use their own into suboptimal positions. But there are no real optimal positions for the Saints. It is just prevent them from winning the game. And right now, they only have Soak's ultimate to work with, as Sniper running in, getting into the backline, actually getting gone down by Howlock. So he's able to find some cover in that building. But as the Torbjorn goes and Soaks is forced to use the rallying cry, Howlock with a little bit of HP running for his life as Squeak chases him down. Squeak almost with his ultimate at 100% now, ready to go crazy at any given moment, taking a lot of damage. He might be forced to use it now, but not even necessary, as they're able to get kills, get pickoffs, and retreat all at the same time. Not a team wipe completely, but staggering all these deaths is almost as even worse than a team wipe itself.
It's almost like a different team has all of a sudden showed up here. The Saints have just found the comp that works for them, and like we were talking about, have to adapt to these dynamic changes in the map here. The Saints have found the spot that works for them. This corner, notoriously difficult to take if you start to get, you know, if you start to get wiped, if you start to really get delayed here, and the Saints are playing into that advantage here. But Howlock popping his Winston ult. It is monkey mode going on here as Azure falling to that ult. Squeak having it in pocket as well, electing not to use it. The only ult the Saints have in their pocket, as Azure did use Bob as well. But Joey throwing some lava on the point there. That is that molten core, going to make things very difficult for the Saints to get back to that payload. Saints getting pushed back from Blinn after that aggressive push led by Joey on the Torbjorn. Saints having to regroup and rethink their strategy. Here's Squeak getting back some health. They're losing it a little bit in that team fight here. That's Joey almost going down. Squeak gonna finish him off. Azure getting some more shots in there. Blinn on the back foot once again. Saints able to weather the storm from an aggressive Blinn push there. Great job from them.
55 seconds remaining. Blinn College, only real ults of high value that are close is Regime with 65%, and I'm not even confident in saying that they're going to be able to get it in time for one final push play to get the Saints off the point as well as push to the next checkpoint. But Saints using the nano boost as well, Soaks having the ultimate in the back pocket, ready to use it at any given moment. They're going to be able to take that sniper, and that's one member not likely able to make it for this start of this next team fight as Regime getting closer and closer to the ultimate. Sky Sniper just spawning, so maybe there's a chance Hutch finding the nano boost ready to go, and actually the Antheal's gonna hit, forced to use the rally, and the Saints losing both of their supports at the start of this fight. This is looking really good for Blinn College, and they're trying to get that Brigitte, but not able to get the kill. Taking down It's Joey, however. Squeak stuck on the other side of the planet without any HP, no way of getting back, and looks like Blinn College able to get the payload moving again, but they still have quite a ways away until they find that checkpoint. Blinn College with 2 more ults ready to use. Saints now scrambling to regain control of this point as Squeak gets angrier and angrier. He's ready to burst. He uses that ultimate. He's going crazy, but Noxious is getting taken down out of the sky. They're trading. Winstons are going both insane on the enemy team of the opponents, and they're losing members by the second, but still, Halleck is going to come out on top here as Blinn College are able to wipe out the Saints and get it to the next checkpoint, earning themselves some more time to play.
That was so unfortunate for St. Clair. They had that team fight there. They just had to get that just a little bit more health off of Halleck on Winston. Just couldn't get it, and that led to that rally cry. That nano boost into Halleck's Winston ult there was just enough that they needed here. So give credit to Blinn College, you know, right at the stroke of midnight almost, getting that next checkpoint here. Really unfortunate for the Saints. You have to feel like you should have had that team fight there, but the game continues. 53 seconds yet remain in this one. The Saints have to find a bit of inspiration here, some motivation, because Blinn is just moving the payload without any resistance, but Azure and Squeak getting some picks here. Azure with a particularly good find on to Blinn here as Noxious and Squeak finishing out the members of Blinn here, going to be staggering them out. That's exactly what you needed to get them reset here and staggered out. 30 seconds left, 2 ults to play with for St. Clair and more on the way. This is going to be their best chance at stopping Blinn right now.
Absolutely. This is definitely progress. It's definitely better than the positions that they were in before. But you know what? The Saints are really kicking themselves because in their head, they shouldn't be in this position in the first place. They basically had the game sealed away. Blinn College, where they were able to do exactly what I said the Saints haven't been doing, but force the Saints to split. We saw Squeak off in the middle of nowhere, and this could be the last chance that Blinn College has to finish off this game. Noxious with the ultimate. Squeak just throwing them around like ragdolls in this corridor as Blinn, with just a Tracer left, have lost their chance of winning this game. They are going to get within just a breath away from the final capture point, and the Saints are going to have to best them in this pushing effort if they want to finish off this game here.
Yeah, great job to rebound from that adversity, but like you said, the Saints really had to be kicking themselves because they shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. Getting that team wipe right in overtime, right at the end there to let Blinn C9 them and get that next checkpoint. Very, very unfortunate, uncharacteristic for them, but that was a really, really good time to, you know, think about it, you know, take a break, you know. Clearly nothing facing the Saints in this case here, but like we said, you know, take a second, regroup, try and adjust your strategy, figure out what was working in that first game, and just be more aggressive. Just be that more aggressive team and prove that you are the ones that deserve to win that game. You know, just keep it going, and like you said, just regroup and rebound.
Yeah, rebound for sure. I think that is, you know, no rebounding. The Saints wanted to dunk. They wanted to dunk, and they were about to dunk that game. The ball was going through the net. In fact, it went through, but before it hit the ground, Blinn just pushed it all the way back up through the bottom of the net, which is cheating. You're not allowed to do that. It's called goaltending, and you'll get pushed on the playground for doing it. It happened to me in elementary school several times. I thought it was okay, but apparently you're not supposed to put your hand through the bottom of the net. Whatever. All right, you're not as good as I am. But the Saints here, they're getting ready to start their own offense, and I hope Blinn College is ready for some next level goaltending.
Next level goaltending indeed. Looks like a pretty similar comp on both sides here. Sky Sniper electing to stay on that Tracer. Gonna be watching to see which DPS they elect to go with, as Squeak trying to take out that turret early. He does find it. Early pick on a turret for the Saints, just giving them a little extra breathing room to push up on the point. Noxious just barely getting Sky Sniper, but Tracer, being such a elusive character to fight against, just couldn't finish the pick there. Azure trying to deal with these members of Blinn that are sticking on this catwalk here, trying to go for this sort of high ground aerial type defense. Saints having to push back here, back behind the bus. Squeak not able to get super far in. The Saints are doing a great job at, or sorry, Blinn is doing a great job at holding the Saints back here. And, you know, the Saints just have to keep poking away at that defense and just find, you know, like I said, just find those holes in the defense to start getting this capture progress going.
Yeah, just like a hole in your pants that you wish you got really attended to before it turned into a much bigger one. I think the Saints are going to be just as irritating, but there is no Taylor for a broken team comp, unfortunately. Blinn College looking to just hold that hole shut before the Saints are able to worm their way through it and onto the point. Clair struggling really here to even find their way through. Thankfully, Ash is going to be able to escape with their life, as Squeak really just holding the fort up here on these stairs. I wonder how the Saints want to break through. I think right now they're just farming for ultimates. Soak's 55% away. But hey, they forced Regime to use the rally cry. Squeak gonna get the ultimate. Might even be able to get the kill on Brigitte regardless. Oh, she just escapes with her life. No, still able to get through. But that's precious time off of Squeak's ultimate. Not sitting in front, being an absolute nuisance, chasing a kill, but still, it's going to yield success as they lost to Brigitte on the side of Blinn College, forcing her away from the team, not going to get any value of the rally cry. Soaks very close to his own, and now we're going to see Halleck using his own Berserker Rage, looking at the back line, trying to recreate the success that Squeak had, but not able to quite find it. Forced a retreat, actually, as the Saints have fully captured these segments of the point, and with the Halleck finding his way back on, Soaks is forced to use the rally cry, so at the very least, Blinn College able to force out another support ult in kind, but Saints ultimately still able to capture the point. 50 or 30% deficit between Brigitte ults, and Hutch is down. We're seeing Razor with 60% on there as the Saints clean up. Squeak getting those last two melee hits to finish off the remnants of that hold. St. Clair now needs to just try to get as much percentage as they can so they can make sure that they aren't delayed too long at this next choke point, because they don't, if they're going to get stuck anywhere, they don't want it to be here. They want to push through as hard as they can.
Sorry, I love this aggressive dive that they're doing as well, because like you said, you need to gain so much ground, you know, that Blinn was able to sort of steal away at the end of this last one here. So I love Squeak and Azure playing up super far. Like we said, these choke points so important here. Nano Boost getting used on Halleck yet again. Halleck trying to do some more damage here and delay as much as they can, but Halleck not able to get anybody with that Nano Boost as Noxious finishes him off here. The payload continues to move. Noxious in the back line trying to take care of that turret. Squeak needing to play up super far. He's close to his ult. Azure is ready to bring out Bob as well for some extra help for the Saints. Saints already at that next checkpoint here. Blinn not really able to get set up here. It's like we said, the Saints are committing to this aggressive dive here, and Squeak now in the back line with his ultimate, just wreaking havoc in Blinn's back line as the Saints continue to push that payload just about at the next checkpoint to at least tie the score at 2-2. But you know the Saints are going to be pushing for that win here, and that's Joey going down as well. All blue in the kill feed as the Saints very close to stealing this game away.
Very close indeed. They are so close to just... Oh! Sky Sniper
what a shot.
Surviving, but absolutely devastated. Once again, actually finding another high-value kill with 185 sitting on this high ground. Squeak sitting right in front firmly, allowing him to just keep getting more and more relentless, brutal with these shots. Saints looking pretty uncontested here, able to match the push from Blinn College, I believe. Do Blinn get a chance to push back, or is this it?
That's it, man.
Really?
That's it. St. Clair wins, yeah.
Wow, I thought
just
they got a
that
chance
easy.
to push. Damn, Saints making it look easy, just like you said. Blinn College, unfortunately, all their efforts are in vain. It seems Saints able to relatively easily just push back. You can see that play of the game is gonna ultimately be Squeak with the really high value Berserker Rage, able to pick off supports, able to really just disrupt the entire hold that Blinn College had going for them. I feel like if that play didn't happen, Saints unironically might have lost that match.
No, Squeak was absolutely the MVP of that match. Like we said, him leading the charge with that dive was just so. That was a really good impression of what he was doing,
More or less.
actually. But no, just leading that dive, with Noxious and Azure sort of in your back pocket as your support DPS. You have Ana as well, who can heal from a distance here. Just really, really smart play, and good job from the Saints by staying composed as well. Like you said, Overwatch does sort of bring out the emotion sometimes. It is sort of very easy to get tilted in a situation like that. And I
Yeah.
feel like, when you have it in the bag in overtime, falling in a team fight, letting Blinn steal another point and more progress, it has to be sort of disheartening in a way.
Hmm.
But really good job for the Saints to rally back, be like, all right, bet, our turn now. And then they just find a way to win. Even at the start, too. It took them a while to get onto the point, but once they found their rhythm and found their footing, it was over from there. It was over, ladies and gentlemen. It's over.
And that's the paradigm, I guess, of these hybrid modes. Like the first capture point, it's I want to say it's attacker favored. It's attacker favored in the game strategy sense. Definitely defense favored in terms of positioning and map holding, but attackers don't really have much to lose by, let's say, sacking a player to take out a support, because it's going to be the defender who has the much longer journey to get back than if we sacrifice our tracer for their Brigitte. Brigitte's gone for like 20 seconds. Our Tracer's back in like 5 seconds in terms of when they both respawn. So the attackers, they have a lot more ability to take risks, and the defense are the ones who really have to kind of play a lot more conservatively.
Well, no, you're right about that, especially on a map like Numbani as well. You have two levels of elevation, right? And
Yes,
obviously, the upper, the skywalks are such a, much more superior vantage point, and that just adds more time to that travel journey, and then just
exactly.
getting set up as well. So, like you said, the Saints doing a great job on both ends,
Hmm.
in ways, but able to just find those holes in Blinn's defense, staying patient, waiting for all those ults to get set up, forcing out that early nano boost on the side of Blinn. I think that was a very huge, underrated moment as well,
Yes.
because forcing that out, that Blinn doesn't have that for the responding push from St. Clair. So that was really good to draw that out early, save up all those ult charges for the real team fight, the real push, and yeah, that was it. That was just the best way that the Saints were able to do it. You had mentioned it, I think, in a really good way, is that ult management, ult economy is really the key to victory in Overwatch, and being able to manage it better than your opponent, you'll be winning at least 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and like we were talking about before as well, on top of alt management, it really is, respawns and lives. Who's alive? Who's dead? Are we able to make a push here? And if it goes wrong, can we afford it? And I think again, the Saints' sense for that is really good. As even though they, when they were on the attack, I feel like all the risky opportunities that would yield them positive outcomes, regardless of whether or not things went their way, they were taking all of those. There were no stones unturned, I guess you could say. And here we are on the potential last game mode. Is going to be Flashpoint. Saints have to, or Blinn College as well. Either team has to capture and control to 100% 3 flashpoints to walk away the victor of this game. If the Saints win this, they're not only victor of this game, but of this series. We're seeing Haluk on the what's this character's name again? Something with an M. Maga. Maga
Magua.
with the double
Yeah, you
machine
got it.
guns. Axir on the signature Ramatra. Not very effective in the other game modes, but here he likes to shine. We're seeing the swap out. We're seeing Axir back on, and Noxious going to be making his way into this game here on the May. And now we're seeing Joey getting onto the flashpoint. Blade Claw's getting the first touch, but Axir stuck in a corner, getting trampled. Hey, he's gonna fall. He was playing DPS for the last couple of games. It's gonna take some time to adjust and get comfortable. Blinn College here getting up to 20% in his first push.
Magua is a really interesting tank to counter with the Ramatra because Magua can put out so much DPS so quickly. and the ability to sort of chain a character together to create almost a 1v1 scenario, it's going to make it really, really difficult for Azure because his defensive mode there doesn't last as long as you think it does. And, you know, with Mogul having as big of a health pool as he does, that melee mode definitely gonna... Oh, Razor with that crazy dink onto Sniper there. Excellent work. Let's get that one started here. Razor's really feeling it on Cassidy early. The Saints take control of the flashpoint, but Blinn, 70% for their progress. The Saints have a bit of work to do if they want to secure this first flashpoint, but definitely off to a great start. Here's Joey hopping on board with that Soldier, and it's going to get taken out by Azure, like we said, on Ramatra. Despite the fact that Mog was going to give him a tough challenge here, we know that Azure is really going to be loving to lead the charge here and doing it with Soaks as well. Soaks using his ult to get most of those frags there, but Azure being in that front line with that Ramatra, that melee mode is just so deadly for any of those DPS support characters.
Absolutely, and Saints able to turn this flashpoint around 70% now. Blinn College were able to get up to before the Saints recaptured it, and they are now going to surpass the percentage that Blinn College had, and just based off of the ult alone, looks like they're going to be able to hold this point. Blinn College, I hope what they're going to be playing for right now is to at least force out the support ultimates on the side of St. Clair, so once they all reach over to the next point, they can at least have that next fight go their way guaranteed. And yeah, you can see they're just kind of farming up the points. But never mind, forcing it out. UFO is going to go down with the rally cry. Of course, this makes sense because whoever wins this fight is going to get the point with the Blizzard going down. We have Raze on the sideline. A Frozen Brigitte shattered like a popsicle. Maga's going to be the next target. Not going to use the high noon. Blinn College successfully able to wipe down the Saints and are able to recapture the flashpoint. Saints won't have enough time to retake unless they significantly change up their lineup here. Razor, no, gonna stick with the Cassidy, and Redix maybe hoping to get in time to get a touch, but it's unlikely as the overtime ticks over. Saints just waiting for the reinforcements, but Asher probably gonna go down for the get here. They're trying desperately to keep him alive, but he's still gonna fall to Death Blossom coming out from Sky Sniper, going to successfully get the kill. Noxious gonna take him out as revenge, and they're starting to recapture the point, but it's just Razor and Soaks alive. Two great players in and of themselves, but in a team game, especially with 5 up and barreling down your face, Blinn College are able to recapture the point, and I see the value in this push now. I see the value in using the ultimates. Why assume you wouldn't be able to win the fight? Use your ultimates now. Make sure you get this point. Who cares about the next? All that matters is the current point. Now that they got the first one, they can refocus and just put that same effort in capturing that point into this one and play to win.
Saints electing to change the comp a little bit. Noxious and Razor both swapping. Razor electing to go onto that Genshi, which we saw a little earlier here. Wasn't really agreeing with that Cassidy pick. I mean, High Noon is such an iconic, good ultimate, but it takes a lot of time to set up, and in a mode like Flashpoint, we need to be moving so quickly, especially with Blinn being that aggressive. Didn't really have any opportunities for Razor to pop it there, and it was just missing some really crucial shots, especially in that contest situation, that I definitely support this swap here. Noxious, I mean, Reaper, always good in almost any situation, it seems, especially in a mode like Flashpoint here, but Blinn not making it easy for the Saints here. Another early take for them as Saints really on the back foot here, having to use a lot of ults to even get close here, as Sky Sniper just doing more damage as Azure trying to use that Orisa ult, but gets taken out by Sniper almost immediately. But there's Razor coming in with the Dragon Blade, finding one member of Blinn, trying to get that second one, just can't. Does manage to escape though. Saints do capture the point, but after a very lengthy stay from Blinn there, and now Blinn has time to regroup with 2 ults of their own in pocket. You know they're definitely not going to be very conservative about using those. You know they're going to be wanting to use them as soon as they get there, especially with that Brigitte ult. Definitely going to expect that to be popped first to lead that next push.
Similar situation we saw in the previous point. Both teams getting a good amount of capture here, but we're seeing the Death Blossom come through, finding at least Razor, but Sound Barrier coming up in response, keeping the teammates alive. And now we're seeing Axir getting aggressive here on the Maga, able to find the kill. Next, it's going to be the Sojourn going down. Now, Reaper getting targeted, but as he apparates into Shadow Form, able to barely escape with his life as Regime takes out Redix in the back line. Teleporting onto the spot here. Noxious trying to get the kill, but he's going to get dropped himself. as Blinn College on the point, trying to contest, get the recapture. Saints not letting it happen. It's Joey sliding in, trying to get a pick off. Not able to find anything just yet, but they have 4 on the point. Saints forced back. Now, Blinn College back in the progress zone, making this point theirs. Every second that goes by favors them. Looking for the pickoff, but Asher able to respond with the ultimate takedown regime. No Brigitte left, but losing their DPS on the sideline. Hollook and Sniper taking them out. It's Joey taking down Red X and actually gonna fall. Sky Sniper finally getting the kill onto Soaks. That's a team kill. And again, situation that should have gone the way of the Saints. Blinn College able to come back, turn around, and turn this into another successfully captured flashpoint. Again, unless the Saints are gonna be able to find a touch here, which it seems very unlikely, even with the Sojourn switch, not able to find it in time. And just something I wanted to mention, didn't really have a chance to until now, was the switches from the DPS. I feel like there's, especially in a mode like Flashpoint, like you pointed out, Evan, you don't have a lot of time. You want to be able to press your ultimate button and feel like you're guaranteed value. Supports work that way. Soaks, no matter what, if you press Rally Cry, you're going to find value out of it. Red X, you're going to find value out of the ultimate. Do you find necessarily that much value out of Cassidy? It's high noon? Not necessarily. You can press that button and nothing can happen. But at the very least, with Genji, at the very least with Sojourn, have that set amount of time where you're highly effective. But we're going to see the Death Blossom get started up, taken out immediately. Red X with a huge kill, starting things off, but Regime finding 3 immediately. Haluk getting a huge stomp, but Axer running away, running for his life, but taken down. Blinn College once again capturing this flashpoint, and it looks like the Saints have really been figured out.
Yeah, the Saints are just all over the place right now. They're changing their comp, it seems, almost every minute or two because they just can't find anything that's working. And I just, you gotta give credit to both Sky Sniper and Haluk here. Magua has been absolutely terrorizing the Saints in every situation. And here he is diving in again, finding Soaks on that charge here. The Saints elected to swap Asher to Magua to sort of, maybe get some extra damage and output, but just nothing is working. Just all Blinn right now. Looks like they're gonna cruise to a victory here, barring a Saints comeback here. Saints just scrambling to try and find the team comp that's working here. But like you were saying about team ults, as Razor finding Joey, as maybe St. Clair are gonna get a chance to capture this point for a little bit, but just the way it's been rolling right now is Blinn has just been absolutely running the table right now. They have to find an answer for Haluk and Sky Sniper on both the Magua and the Reaper respectively here. Looks like we are going to get a little bit of progress for the Saints starting out here as they, like they have with the last 2 points, they managed to capture the point, but then one big push from Blinn and then it's all over. They need to find a way to solve that problem here. The Saints can have all 5 of their ults available for the next couple pushes, but they need to be smart with how they use them because you know that Blinn isn't going to just have one good team push left, probably going to have a second and a third as well with some ults in their pocket as well. Definitely a very long way from this game being over here as Joey does elect to use his. That's a Juno ult from Hutch getting, or sorry, Red X that gets popped as well here. Noxious finding 2 with his ult. Another one for Asher and Razor. That's going to be a team kill for the Saints here as they finally start to find some footing here, and we might get to see them capture their first flashpoint in this mode, but still not over yet. Still a lot of game left to be played.
Absolutely, and the way this played out, this is basically guaranteeing the Saints are going to be able to capture this flashpoint. The only question is going to be whether or not Blinn will be able to force out any ultimates. If Blinn doesn't get a single ultimate here, then it's pretty safe to say the Saints are going to get the next one. But immediately using the Maga ultimate, hopefully they want to save onto the support ultimates, but they won't hesitate to use if they have to. Razor using the Dragon Blade. Again, these are more situational ults. Razor finding a triple kill and another team kill. These are also, you can get value out of them if used properly. But there's very few situations where you press a Rally Kite, where you press a UFO, and you don't get anything worthwhile out of it. So that's why they want to make sure if they're using ultimates, they want to save these ones for only if they need it, because they want to be able to take this next flashpoint and at least establish strong control from the start off. And with no support ultimates coming on the side of Blinn College, at least for a good amount of time, at least not until the next fight after this one, St. Clair are going to be able to pretty confidently take it as long as Soaks is not picked off early enough. 5 seconds remaining, Saints are looking to establish a strong presence.
Yeah, definitely have to worry about that Death Blossom though from Sky Sniper. It does get popped out as soon as I say that. Doesn't find anybody, though. The Saints are lucky. That could have been absolutely disastrous, especially with establishing that point. That ult from Soaks does get baited out here as both teams are colliding onto this point here. Blinn aggressively trying to capture here. The Saints a bit off kilter here. None of them close to the point. That's still one member of the Saints that does manage to find their way back. Azure deep in the back when they're trying to push the members of Blinn back as far as they can. Noxious does have his ult to play with, as well as Redix. Can be looking to maybe save them as they're gonna just elect to let Blinn take that point. Blinn having to expend a couple ultimates there. Saints have some in their pocket. Saints gonna regroup and just rethink their strategy here, but can't wait too long though, because you can't let Blinn capture this point or else it's all over and this series is going to continue. Here is Razor trying to do some more chip damage in the back. Noxious does fall down. That's Joey with his Sojourn all trying to find some members of the Saints unaware, but Azure and Razor both finding picks of their own to keep this push alive for the Saints. Saints do end up capturing the point after a third team kill. They have really started to find their groove, and they found that comp that's really working for them. Razor again going to be having his ult for the next team fight as well. Saints, like we said, they got to be smart with their ult economy here. You can't commit too much, especially with Blinn. You know, take a look at that word menu as well. You know, just make sure everything is up and running with the computer. There is Dragon Blade, like we said, as Blinn regrouping for their next push.
Blinn with the Maga ultimate ready to go in the backside. Saints with 3, immediately using the Maga ultimate on their side of things, but Halleck not really committing it just yet. They're able to find Hush, they're able to find Regime. This fight is as good as the Saints. Razor using the Dragon Blade at the same time for another team kill. Saints definitely have this flashpoint under control, but that's what I said last time. I didn't think that Regime was going to be able to get the rally cry until the fight after, but got it basically as soon as Soaks' ultimate ended. That's why Blinn College was able to stick as long as they were and ultimately push the Saints back off. Redx 30% behind Hutch on the Juno ultimate, however, so they're going to have to try to get some pickoffs and force them away from getting off to the point. Asher trapped and stuck and betrayed here in the hyperbolic time chamber, not able to get back onto the point, but he's going to be able to break free, look for the stomp, but with another effective team kill. Saints are now 2-2 with Blinn College, and now every moment matters. Okay, Soaks has the ultimate. Regime just shy of it. Redx kind of far behind. I don't know if the Saints want to play to try to capture this. Obviously, they don't have exact percentages. They don't get to see the numbers. They don't get to see the ult points and ult percentages that Blinn College has. But they should be keeping relative track. And even if they do feel like, or even if they know that Hutch is going to have that UFO ready, I think they still want to play for this, even if it means committing Soaks' ultimate, because at the very least, similar situation to what happened with Blinn, if Soaks uses the ultimate and Regime both use the same ultimate, or at least trade each other out, then Redix should have the ultimate ready by the end of Hutch's, so that should help them stay on the point longer than Blinn. So let's see how each team wants to push on here. We're seeing Halleck, and we're seeing the UFO ultimate committed first, actually. Blinn College establishing a strong presence. Rally Cry forced out on the side of Soaks. Redix, look at that ult percentage, just rising, is climbing, and this is going to be the chance for the Saints to get back on the point as Blinn College were able to get the first touch, and now we're seeing Regime commit the Rally Cry as well. Redix holding onto the UFO, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. We're losing and fighting back, but we're getting the UFO put down, and the Blinn College, they're kind of caught out of guard. We're not expecting it, we're not ready, and now they're forced back as they're losing numbers. Saints get the capture. Redx using that ultimate perfectly, and they're just watching their soldier knowing that they're forcing her to stagger. She's doing a nice shuriken spin off the map. Oh my God, I am happy to be alive because it means I got to witness that with my own 2 eyes.
Oh, just insult to injury there, but like you said, Redix timing that UFO so perfectly. The Saints just with a great strategy try and bait out as many ults from Blinn as they could, and they just stayed the course, and just ultimately they just won out there. Azure now using his ult to get more members of Blinn trapped here, comboing it with that Dragon Blade. Just an absolutely lethal combo. That's another team kill for the Saints as they look to cruise to victory here. What a great comeback, down 2-0 with the ability to potentially come back and win this game of Flashpoint 3-2
And
would absolutely be a motivation booster that the Saints need. But just a little bit more game left to go here. Only 4% left to go. Blinn, another chance to get this
Rally
one,
cry
but
says,
Noxious,
my folks.
he keeps hitting those shots, those big-time
Oh, he's
shots
down.
when he needs to. Somehow gets out of that ult, but Razor is going to finish Halleck. That is going to be it for Blinn, assuming they can find Sky Sniper. That's Joey going down here. Blinn does recapture the point just for a second because Sky Sniper, C9 with that Tracer, going to have to just deal with her. That's going to do it. Azure, just a casual 20-player kill streak, and this one, that's the master of contesting himself. That is going to be Wrecking Ball. Not going to get anything, though. Almost a desperation play for Blinn there, but that's going to do it. After this overtime ends, more members of Blinn getting back on to try and contest as much as they can. No one getting back in time. The Saints, a masterful, masterful comeback, down 2-0 in Flashpoint, managing to come back and win this series against Blinn College 3-0. Like I said earlier, the prediction held up. The Saints were able to do it. Azure, absolutely deserving the play of the game and the MVP of this Flashpoint game. Excellent, excellent work.
I would argue that it might have been Redx, especially with that last play, but definitely for the first, 5 flashpoints, Axure was definitely a big point, always in position, ready to drop the chains, forcing Blinn into really awkward positions, and just for anyone who even wants to get a glimpse into the strategy of games like this, it's simple math. You can just see it. Whoever had the more ults at the start of the team fight usually wins a team fight. Literally, that last team fight, Saints had 2, Blinn had 1. Who wins the team fight? Saints did. Thankfully, it was the ultimates that worked really well together. It was the Malga ultimate and the Redx's Dragon Blade. Or was it Redx? Yeah. No? Yeah, Redx on the Dragon Blade, and using that to really wipe out Blinn College.
No, sorry, it was Razor,
Razor
on the Dragon
Similar
Blade.
names.
You know, I'm so distracted. I'm so excited about what just happened. I can't even think straight right now. But no, absolutely well done by every member of the Saints team. Definitely give yourself a pat on the back. Excellent, excellent work to come back there. But like we said, everybody contributing, but I think it really comes back to Azure switching to the Mogwa there. You know,
Yeah.
couldn't really find the comp that was working there. It took a little bit to just sort of find their footing and to find what was working. But then once they found it, it clicked just like that, and they were able to just roll right from there. So excellent work to stay composed, you know, keep working together as a team and just finding a way to win. That's what we like to say. Good teams always find a way to win, and this is a massive win, especially with playoffs in NACE Super Conference coming up very, very soon.
And I think that's the magic of Flashpoint. You start off neutral, you start off everybody is 0% on the ultimates, but just based off of how that first fight goes, that's going to tip the scales, and how the teams choose to commit, how they choose to start fights, how they choose to finish them. And we saw that first Flashpoint especially, Blinn really did have a choice there, whether or not they wanted to save those ults for the next fight or commit them in hopes of pushing back and being able to recapture. If Blinn lost that fight, there's a very good chance they get 3-0'd because they would have forced out all their ultimates. Saints wouldn't have had to use their own, and then the Saints would have been able to use their ultimates for the next fight, and then Blinn would have had to get their ults back, and at that same time, since the Saints had already had their ults, then Blinn would have to catch up with the Saints, and then Saints would just always have had more ultimates continuously at the start and end of each flashpoint, and it's just a really difficult situation. So it's always a delicate balancing act. It's like a tug of war, more so than the push game mode, ironically, where it's literally a tug of war. I feel like Flashpoint is a lot more about balancing the commitments of the ultimates, and again, I feel like that game was like a perfect example of it.
And that's a really good way to put it because, again, it really is all about alt economy at the end of the day. And it really takes a skilled player and an experienced player, experienced team to know exactly when the perfect moments for using all of those ultimates are. You know, lesser players would maybe get a little bit, you know, too excited or too distracted in the big moments, just thinking that, you know, you just have to pop the ult as soon as they can, as fast as they can. Exactly, just doing it now. But great to stay composed, especially when your backs are up against the wall. You know, there still was a lot of series left to be played potentially, but if you give Blinn just that little bit of momentum, because they found it, you know, they really had it at the end of that hybrid mode on Numbani. They were starting to cook a little bit. They were starting to find the comps that were working for them, the characters that were just sort of giving the Saints trouble. So who knows what could have happened if the Saints dropped that flashpoint mode. But like we said, good job to stay composed and just secure this win. Like we said, very much needed win, especially when both teams so close in the standings. Very big win in terms of playoff seeding.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more, Evan. And there's one other person that I would love to agree with a little bit more. It's going to be Razor, arguably one of the MVPs of that last game, if not the entire match as a whole. Razor, you did fantastic today. I want to
Thank
hear from
you.
you. Business as usual. Do you think you exceeded expectations, underperformed, overperformed? How do you feel about that match?
I think we did what we needed to do that match. I think on New Junk City we might have got a little too creative, but we locked it in after we went down two, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, you can not to say you can throw, but theoretically, if you were to throw and you were to play poorly, it's better to get it out of the way earlier on in the series rather than later on. But speaking of New Junk City, there was a lot of stuff that we were talking about and we observed, especially near that last team fight where we saw that, well, you guys don't get to see it, but we saw that they had the ult advantage near the start, but you guys were holding on right for that perfect moment where they're pushing into you before you guys committed the Juno ult. Was that something that was planned, something that kind of just happened? It perfectly worked out for you. I want to hear from you. Like, what was team comms like there?
Was it the last fight of the last point you're talking
Yes,
about?
yes.
Yeah, so I think we just had our Sojourn ult, and we're just like, they have to touch, so we can take the 4v5 with our Sojourn and go really aggro into them and look for the trades and then go back point. And even if that fight doesn't end up working out, we still had a lot of time afterwards because I think they're at like 35% to our 99. So if that play doesn't work out, we use our Sojourn and we get two ults out, which they used. I think they rallied, they caged, and they Juno ulted. And we still ended up winning. So obviously it worked out. Terry hit some nice shots, Noxious. So yeah, no, it's just like we just went for an aggro play and it ended up working out.
Beautiful.
It absolutely worked out. Now, Razor is still sticking with New Junk City. Like we said, you guys go down 2-0 pretty early. It looks like Blinn is just really running the floor with everything, just sort of winning all those team fights. And then you guys just switch the comp up a couple times, and then you're really just kind of locked into the comp that really worked out. So just kind of walk me through what comms were like to just keep each other, in the game and just make sure that you guys don't feel like the game is already over when, you're already down by so much.
Yeah, so I think our original comp we rolled out on, I said I wanted to jungle on Cass. So if you play League of Legends, it's a little reference to that where you kind of run around on Cass.
I see.
Doesn't work into their comp. And I'm not too good at it, apparently. And then we're just like, you know what, let's just mirror him, put me on Genji, my comfort pick, put Terry on Noxious on Sojourn, and we can just kind of out-mechanic and kind of out-team play them, which is what ended up happening the rest of the map.
Yeah, beautiful. And I want to ask you, last question here before we wrap up. I know you're a busy guy. Okay, you got things to do. This match, I feel like it was somewhat important, especially as we're approaching the end of the playoff, or the end of the season, and you guys are approaching the playoffs. You have a big opponent next week. How are you feeling, especially after this match this week, and now you guys are 4-2 in NACE? Are you feeling prepared for that final boss next week?
Yeah, we're feeling good. It's Winthrop, and I think they just beat ISU, who were like undefeated the last 2 years. I think they only lost like 2 series, so it's going to be like a big game, sorry. So I think we're going to try and be as prepared as we can be going into it, and hopefully we can punch up, I guess. They got a bunch of pro players, some guys going to LANs, so we'll see what we can do.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Razor. Always a pleasure. You were an artist on the battlefield, and I'm going to set you free. Take
Thank
care,
you.
my
Appreciate
friend.
it.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the end of our show tonight. Evan, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Not many. I mean, like, I think we put it, in a nice, we kind of wrapped it up with a nice little bow at the end there. Obviously, a great win for the team. Still a lot of work to do, especially, like we said, with a huge opponent in Winthrop next week. But I think this is a great litmus test to see how the Saints will potentially perform. They're able to find that sort of team chemistry at the end there, just, stick together. They clearly have that camaraderie that, you need to play upset or spoiler against a big opponent like that. So we're going to see what happens. It's going to be tough. I mean, no matter how you slice it, but I think the Saints are going to be coming in feeling good and feeling confident, and anything can happen. You said anybody can be beaten on any given day.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. As we've been talking about continuously, it's a big week next week. So Same time next week. We hope to see you there. But before we go, I absolutely have to thank our sponsors, Alienware, Tim Hortons, Subway, the St. Clair College SRC, and the St. Clair College Alumni Association. Thank you for sure to Owen and Wallace holding us down in the back. Thank you, as always, Evan. Come on, don't leave me hanging.
I got you. I got you.
And thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the team. We never really thank our team. Thank you to the team
Yeah,
for
thanks,
playing.
team.
Thank you for making it nice and quick. We hope to see you guys at our next stream. Take care.